Hello, you all. Just saying hello, a little quick hello. After my short video, both this morning and yesterday, the aftermath of the flooding and all that stuff, I figure it was kind of worthwhile to give hello and an update. This morning, I went out to charge my phone and to panhandle a little bit of a few bucks, just so I could sit at the preferred place to go to charge my phone and my battery pack. Is a place called Sheetz gas station. It's pretty good. They don't mind me sitting there at all, and they got a little kind of section that has little booths, and it's got plugs, and you can just plug your your cord in, sit there. As long as you got a couple of bucks to get something to snack on, it's a good excuse to be there, and you can sit there for a couple hours. No one's ever given me a problem. Other than that, I'm taking the long way home back to camp instead of the shorter way. And the reason is because I don't want people to see me go back and forth and all that stuff all the time, the same route, because then they can kind of put two and two together and four and four together and eight and eight together. Eventually they can kind of like figure out where you're camping. Yesterday, I'll tell you, it really was a major problem. My camp was just about ready to be flooded out. I was just about ready to jump ship. And I didn't realize even how bad the rain was until I got into town. And here is looking like in town. See, I mean, everything is flooded over and, this is really swampy land, but this is really pretty high, So it was pretty rough yesterday. I had to dig a ditch alongside my tent where the water was accumulating, and it was probably 15 feet long. And I got so wet, I just said, heck with the wearing the clothes. I don't want to get everything completely wet. So being way out in the woods as I was, I just, stripped down to my underwear and bare feet. And I just started going to work on it. And it was meditative. It was so intense. And I was pulling roots and pulling up rocks and making this ditch about it started out about 6 inches deep, and then I had to keep getting it deeper and deeper. Water would flow downhill and empty into a area away from my tent. I had to completely redirect the whole entire flooding. As you can see, look, it's all flooded out there, see? So that's what I did yesterday, and it took, I'd say for sure an hour and a half, but it's been 2 hours. So today I got up and I was like, well, my battery packs are getting kind of low and I'm getting bored and I need to get some fresh air and open spaces. I left camp intending on, charging the battery packs, but I'm very tired. And I didn't know, I'm just like, man, do I have to sit at that park for 5 hours and wait for these battery packs to charge up? Well, I went and got myself a couple of fruit out of a dumpster. I got myself a piece of cardboard. I went to a park that I go to where they actually leave the outlets on, thank goodness. And it's off the beaten path, and there's hardly anybody that goes there except for local people that know about it. And that's why they leave the outlets on in the summertime. At the end of the fall, they obviously shut them down for the winter. So it's no problem for me to sit there for a couple of hours. And there's times where I've been pretty much alone there for like 4 hours or so, just charging my battery packs and my phone. That's kind of nice. But it's a long hike. It's like 3 miles one way. Going back to camp is another 3 miles. Then walking around town, you got at least another couple of miles in. So you're talking 3, 6, at least 8 miles, just to leave camp, charge my phone, and try to make a couple of bucks and hit a couple dumpsters and free food boxes. Yeah, it's you got to bust your butt if you're going to do it and do it right. Plus, I always make sure I keep my camps clean. I'm always taking the garbage back to town, which I think is a great thing. I don't know why homeless people in most places can't just get that through their head. So many camps, people, set up a tent somewhere and then they let the garbage accumulate, bags and bags at a time. When they're always running back into town, so why not take 4 or 5 cans of food once you accumulate them, wash the cans out real nice, and then just put them in a grocery bag and take them back to town with you when you go. But for some reason, they just don't do that. Most of them. Obviously, that's not everyone. There are obvious exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, most homeless people, that's how they behave. And they're usually surly and threatening, and they usually have addictions that they just can't shake or don't want to shake, or a combination between the two. So I don't associate with homeless people, and I'm a homeless person, or an unhoused person, I should say, because I'm kind of at home wherever I'm at. I usually at least try to make myself be that way or feel that way. But as an unhoused person, I really, if I see another unhoused come around, I'm kind of like, oh boy, there goes the neighborhood. They just can't handle the freedom that comes with being unhoused and living like this. It's a lot of work. You got to keep things juggled unless you're going to live in a city. But even if you live in a city, why can't they just take care of their trash? Because if they're right in town, how far is the nearest garbage can? A block away, a half a block away? Just grab a bag at a time and go into town. When you go into town, just take it with you. I don't know why. They're just not like that. They used to have some lovely raspberry bushes all through this whole stretch here, and then, the city comes along and thinks they make it's neater or nicer to make this little cut space, this cut plat. Look at this. This is a good stealth camp, a potential stealth camp. I don't know if I'll use it, but see, it's right here. I'm really close to town. I've never used it before. I came through here once just checking it out. And look at it in here. Tell me you couldn't make a stealth camp in there, huh? And there's probably hunters that come through after once October comes around, but between June and October, probably won't be anybody in there. Up here, I used to camp out up there. I call it Black Bear Mountain because I lost 2 different tents up there, black bear. There's a lot of black bear up here. I'm surprised they're still around, all the hunting that goes on around here. You think they'd get rid of them. I don't have a big heart for bear. I don't like the suckers. I don't. I have a heart for deer. They don't harm anybody. They don't hurt anybody. But, bear, all they do is destroy everything. They're just eating machines and killing machines. So I lost 2 tents up here years ago, over like 2 or 3 years apart, and I'm like, forget it. It wasn't when I was in the tent. They wait for you to leave. They might not find your tent for a month. That's how it works. A black bear, if they don't know, they might not know your presence for a month. But sooner or later, they're going to wander through the woods and they're going to see your tent. And they wait for you to leave. Then they sniff around, and when they know you're gone, then they rip it apart. So, another thing, I never eat in my tent, ever, outside of maybe occasionally in the early part of the day. Something that doesn't have any odor with it or something, I'll eat maybe just some fruit, or like an apple. I'll slice an apple and, have a few slices of apple or something. But I do not eat my food near my tent. I eat a food near a source of where I can kind of wash the can out with water. Like there's a place where it's got a pool of water that's just dirty and it's mixed with a little bit of chemicals and stuff from the road, which is not pretty, but it's actually good for what I use it for. There's so many little chemicals that mix in it because it's like drainage from the road. And if a bear came around or another animal and they picked up the odor from the scent of let's say the ravioli or whatever it was I ate, because I washed the can out and then I stashed the can in a certain spot, and they accumulate for 2 days, maybe 3 days, and then I grab a bag of them and I take them back into town, as I mentioned. Um, but there's so many extra little smells and odors, they wouldn't be able to pin it down. So that's what I do when I'm around camp. So I never eat in my tent or near my tent. I eat a couple, like 100 yards away. And then I wash the can out in some place that's got a lot of other junk mixed in it to where you throw off the scent. And then I stash the can somewhere, and then I, can go back to camp. That's how I do it. But anyways, I'm taking the long route back because I don't want to keep taking the short route, the more convenient route back to my stealth camp over and over and over again. There's the out in the distance what it looks like around here. It's like this there's no other cities that are adjacent to this. There's little tiny towns, little country towns and stuff. Few farms here and there, nothing major, real small, nothing real big. No big outfits. There's a small mining outfit over yonder, as I pointed out in one of my other videos. But yeah, that's the update. So I made $11 today after I charged some of my phone. I waited till about 11 o'clock because I know the panhandling is better around like 11:30 to 1, on a weekday. And I'm not like standing there with a sign, but I put a sign on my back and it just says, acts of kindness appreciated. So that's not too in your face, and it's kind of a vague statement. You can take it more than one way, and I'm not trying to pressure anybody into giving me money, but if it's laid on their heart to do it, they'll pull over when they see me walking on the side of the road. I'll walk on roads that have shoulders and stuff, and then they might help me out. So it's worked good at times, and sometimes it's a little thin, Today, it was enough to get me by. But, when you do it like that, especially the way I do it, and with all the hiking around and walking around and the work it takes to kind of keep this lifestyle up and running, juggling, you got to put your energy into what you're doing. And I just kind of like lost my mojo for putting my energy into it. And I've just been kind of barely lumbering along, and I didn't have the energy. I'm just getting back into all of this, and overall I'm doing good. But, the world's changing, so am I. I feel that there's a change, the energy of my realities, several realities over the years have broken down and, have blown out to sea and some other new realities. The energy shift, in my own consciousness is kind of replaced an energy and conscious, a field of energy inside of my mind, and the consciousness that I used to be has now been replaced with something a little more, I don't know, sober and sane and sensible, and I think things through more, and I feel a little bit more, I guess life is beginning to underscore my mortality, I think is what I'm trying to say. How you doing, y'all? I don't have my reading glasses on. I'll get to it in a minute. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying right now is probably a little bit therapeutic for me. I guess I'm just kind of, what do they call that? Document dumping. I'm document dumping right now. I almost forgot for a moment that I was talking into a phone. But anyways, I'm taking the long way back, and I saved Stealth Camp. It worked, Baruch Hashem. And so I am trying to work up the courage and the muscle, I guess, and the motivation to take a little bit of a small trip. And I've been talking about this for over a week. I also want to eventually get back and maybe do a couple of day passes in a gym once I start getting a little more used to all of this and get a little bit more back to my old self physically. Even though life has certainly begun to underscore my mortality. Yeah, I think a real superpower that'll get you through life towards the end, the best thing that I've learned is to say, or at least for me, is say, I'm really not a factor in all of this. You know, the less I become and the more that the power that created me becomes, I think the better I'm able to relate and deal with life under any circumstances, even the more uncomfortable ones. In the middle of chaos, can I, have peace? And the only way that's going to happen is if you take yourself out of the factor and say, I'm really not a factor in all of this. And I am safe. I am at one with the power that created me. And really, the only thing that is eternal is the power that created me and you and everything. And there's a sort of oneness that underlines everything. And right now, we're just kind of actors playing a role and wearing some mask, and we're trying to make it fit. And in reality, shit, we really are not a factor in all of this. It makes sense to me. I mean, I'm just kind of getting my toe in the water on that one. Putting my toes. Well, anyways, on my way back to Stealth Camp, one of these days I'm going to kick back and get myself a 24-ounce can of brewski. I haven't had a beer in about 3 weeks or more. There's some hillside country, the Du-Bois area, apples and stuff. Well, shoot, I should probably turn the video off because I don't want to make it long. Who wants to watch a long live, huh? I've got about another hour walk. Going this way, it takes about an hour and 20 minutes to get to the area around my Stealth Camp. If I go the way that's more convenient, it's only like 40 minutes. So, but I'm doing this because I'm just trying to keep my presence less known, more invisible. And at the same time, oh yeah, just to show I got some cool stuff though in the dumpster. Figure I'll show that off, my little dumpster dive thingamajig. And I can show my sign. There's the sign. Acts of kindness appreciated. See, it's not too strong or in your face or anything really ugly. But here is, I got some flat bagels. They're really good. And here is a bag of, I guess, nectarines or whatever. And those are pretty good. There's probably one or two rotten ones I'll have to throw out. But these are some kind of cheese. So, and even if they get a little mold, you can just cut the cheese off. If they get a little mold, cut the cheese off. No, you cut the mold off. And look at this. So yeah, the cheese is actually pretty good in the backpack, even if it gets kind of soft and not so wonderful looking. It's okay. And even like I say, even if it gets a little mold, you can cut the mold off, and and it doesn't harm the cheese because cheese is that's how it breaks down. It's pasteurized that way anyway. So. Yeah, and I got this from a free food box, which is by a laundromat, and they're nice people, huh? So I got that. This here is hummus, and I'm gonna use hummus and some of this cheese on these flat bagels, and then have some these amazing oranges. And I got these free out of the dumpster when I was after made $11. I still got $7 of it left. I spent a little bit just to stay in the Sheetz gas station while I was charging my phone in my battery packs. So there you have it. And I'm going to keep walking. I got about almost an hour, probably about an hour before I get back to camp because I'm taking the long way. But I'm going to really enjoy it. I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to keep this just for kicks or just as a sort of social experiment, I'm going to keep this on. Maybe somebody will stop and give me a ride or something like that. You meet people that way, and you have really cool human, energetic reciprocity and interaction in a real beautiful way. That's what I crave too a lot. It's just the interaction that this sign can have with it. There. So anyway, and I use that as a sling. The reason I brought it is not because I really needed it. It's because when you panhandle, it's really good to have a sling over your like one of these little bedrolls, because it's not a costume because it's real. It's just they might not know what I'm talking about. If I say acts of kindness appreciated, they might just think I'm making some kind of a social statement. But, when they see the bedroll, they get it. It's like, okay, he probably wants a few dollars, let's help the guy out. So that's why I do it. And, yep, there's some kind of a picnic club up there for, yep, I guess this thing is probably getting kind of long, 21 minutes. All right, y'all, I just wanted to say God bless you, and thank you for watching. If you're someone who keeps up with me, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just kind of talking from my heart, and just a little video diary, journaling the day, what I've gone through, and with the tent, and it almost got flooded out, but I saved it, and it was a lot of work. It was 2 hours, and this morning I just had to get the fresh air and open space and find a way to get my battery and my phone and my battery packs charged. And yeah, there's a place up there. So I know the land around here. Technically, I can get water up there. I could probably even get a charge up there. There's a little picnic club. I don't bother it, you know what I mean? But if I had to, I know these little places that I could use if I had to. Just like up there, there's like a baseball field that way, and they got dugouts and stuff. I got caught in the rain. And it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's like abandoned, and it looks like it's abandoned almost. And let me see anything else that I can say. Yeah, my head is pretty scrambled, but yeah, it was fun talking. And in a way, even though I'm really tired, I'm really enjoying this. And I'm enjoying the process of life more than I used to. I realize that life is actually a process. It's really interesting. And when you take yourself out of the factor and you realize that we are safe and one with the power that created us, like that movie Safe, that 1994 movie with Julianne Moore. I tell you, I recommend that movie. It's pretty cool. But I like that. It's a line in the movie, and it's like, that's totally it. Yeah. You're safe. We are safe. We are one with the power that created us, and all is well in our world, because we are all kind of one. I mean, this identity that we have, it's just an energetic frequency that is subject to change almost at any moment. It's not really permanent. The only thing that's permanent is the eternal self-existence that is beneath the surface of all this stuff. It's pretty interesting if you think about it. I personally don't even think that I think Hinduism, actually, they look at Brahm that way, and it's so vast and so impossible to conceive of that it relates or resonates with each person in their own way, which is why it seems that they have all these different gods, but they really don't have different gods. It's just their own way of resonating with the big God that they couldn't possibly conceive any other way than giving it different gods and different names. And true, people can get lost in the soup of all of that and make different gods way too literal. You know what I mean? That's obvious. But I really think there's more of a oneness going on than people realize. And, well, that's just a little example of what I was trying to convey, I guess. All right, I'm going to shut the video off. I should read at least what somebody, because I can't read the comments. It takes like 24 hours for these live videos for some reason to go up to where I can actually read the comments and stuff. Hi, I'm Archie. Thank you, Archie. Darren Merhaba said hi. Are you in Florida? No, I'm in Pennsylvania. Well, God bless you all. And if you like anything that you hear, like the what they call it, content, you can go on Noah Road, and I got a playlist, best of Noah Road, favorite stealth camping. You know, I got some playlists with all of my camping and stuff like that. Anyways, with that said, I want to keep this shorter and I want to go easy on the battery because I'll tell you, these live streams really drain the battery, and then I got to go through all that to keep the battery charged. With that said, Noah Road, over and out for